Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Connie. I'm so glad you could join me today. We are starting off in the kitchen and I am craving blueberry cupcakes. I picked up 10 pounds of blueberries from our local blueberry farm yesterday. I love this time of year because I look forward to blueberry season. We usually go pick them, but it's been extremely hot and humid here this year. And there was no way I was going to fight the bugs in the heat. So I just let them do it for me. Ended up getting 10 pounds, which will last us all through the winter until next season. So the first thing I want to make with them is blueberry cupcakes. But I'm living a low carb lifestyle. So I had to find a recipe that was low carb. And I found one. Most were blueberry muffins. This is actually blueberry cupcakes is what I really wanted. So we are going to give that a shot. I have the recipe in front of me. I have everything that we need here. It calls for blueberry jam, which I do not have, but we are going to make that as well. So this is a two-part recipe. We have to make the jam first, and then we will make the cupcakes. So if you're interested in this kind of thing, stay tuned and let's see how well these cupcakes actually come out. We are starting off with the sugar-free blueberry jam. Now, the first thing it's telling us to do is we need 2 cups of blueberries. So I have my blueberries here starting to thaw. So we're going to add 2 cups of blueberries. Into my saucepan. And if I have extra, I can always use it on pancakes or ice cream or anything like that. And then 2 tablespoons of water, which I already have here measured out. Let's turn on the stove. Here's the water. Okay, it calls for a juice of a half a lemon. I don't have a real lemon, just lemon juice. So we're just going to go ahead and use that. I don't have much left in here, so that would probably be about a half of a lemon right there. And a splash of vanilla. It says vanilla extract. I have vanilla extract, but I'm actually going to try this vanilla syrup. I'm going to use this in this as well as in the cupcakes. So 1 teaspoon. So we're gonna I just think this would give it more flavor. We'll see. It says to stir it up. And then we're going to let this boil. So I'm going to give it a nice stir. I'm going to bring this to a boil. Alrighty, she is starting to boil. So what we'll do is we have to let it go for about 15 minutes without the lid. That way she could start reducing. So we're going to go ahead and do that. You have to keep stirring it. This will reduce it by a third and it will start to thicken up. But we are going to thicken it just a little bit more here in just a little bit. We're going to let this do its thing for about 15 minutes. Okay, in the meantime, while that is doing its thing, we're going to go ahead and start making the cupcake mixture. Now I have my bowl here, and first off, we will be taking 1/4 cup of butter melted, and we will be putting that into the bowl first. And we're going to whisk that really good. So, just so there's no clumps or anything like that. The next thing we're going to do is add, it calls for 3 eggs, but we are only adding 1 egg at a time. And we are whisking in between the whole egg. So once it looks like that, you add your next egg. Okay, all the eggs are in there and they're all whisked. Don't forget to keep whisking your jam. All right, the next thing that it calls for is whisking the vanilla and the allulose. So like I said, I'm using a Cereva sugar-free vanilla, and that's just 1 teaspoon. So I have half of one here, so I'll use it twice. Next up, 1/4 cup of allulose, or whatever keto sweetener that you prefer. Just a 1/4 cup. We'll put that in there. And then you whisk that up. So it's looking like that. And then you'll add your coconut flour, which I have the organic coconut flour. They sell this at Dollar Tree, and it's perfect. So you're going to need 1/4 cup of coconut flour. Okay, 1/4 cup coconut flour. And then you need baking powder, and that calls for 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. And you need baking powder, not baking soda. So 1/2 teaspoon of that. And salt. Now I only have this, so I'm just gonna, it says 1/4 teaspoon. We'll just call that 1/4. And then you whisk all of that together. Now it is a wet batter because you're using coconut flour, okay? It's not going to look like a regular, probably a regular cupcake batter. I love baking. I think it's one of those things, either you love cooking or you love baking. And I love baking. I was a cake decorator for on and off for about 15 years until I hurt my back. And I just couldn't stand in the kitchen no more to decorate cakes. But I absolutely love that job. I felt like that's what I was supposed to do. But then the universe, whatever you want to call it, had a different idea. So we're pretty much done with that. This is what it looks like when you get it all mixed together. We're going to work on this again. She's almost done. Now, it says you can smash the berries if you want to. It just make it a smoother consistency. To me, it really doesn't matter. But I am smashing them a little bit. It's reduced quite a bit. And it will thicken up as it sits, too. We all know this. That's why I wanted to do this first, so it would have a chance to cool off before we add the filling into the cupcakes. Because this is going to go in the middle of the cupcakes after they have been baked. So I'm just trying to smash down the blueberries some. All right, so it's pretty much cooked down. So we're going to take the heat off. Now, we're going to take some xanthan gum, and this works as a thickening agent. Now, the thing with the xanthan gum, you don't need a whole lot. So, like for this recipe, only calls for literally just a pinch. That's all you need. This stuff is amazing. And what it's going to do, it's going to thicken this up even more. So you're going to add the xanthan gum and you're going to stir it in there. And then you're going to set it aside and let it cool. The thing with baking is you have to really follow the directions in order for it to come out. And cooking, you can pretty much do whatever you want. And I think that's why some people just rather cook. They like cooking better than baking. But I love baking. I always have. And becoming on the low carb lifestyle, I've been on this since January. It's been interesting because I've been able to try different recipes. Whereas you kind of get stuck in the same old routine when you're not doing low carb or anything like that, when you're just on a regular American diet, whatever you want to call it. You get kind of stuck in a routine and you tend to make the same things over and over again. Whereas with low carb, I have a lot of my go-to recipes that I make over and over again. But I do like to experiment. And it's not been much doing sweets. I haven't really baked anything. I made blueberry muffins, and I've made keto cheddar bay, which I've done on my channel. Those were really good. The muffins were good too, but I haven't made any cakes or cupcakes or anything like that. And I was just craving cupcakes. So that's why we're making this today. Pretty much what you would eat regularly, you can find a keto low carb recipe for it. And like I said, I've been on this journey since January, and it is now July. And I've only had one slice of regular pizza and a couple of French fries this whole time. It didn't kill me. It was fine. Sometimes that stuff happens. But I am starting to add a couple of extra things into the diet because I feel my body needs it. Like half a banana into a smoothie, or something like that. Beans on the side because you need the fiber and the vitamins that beans give you, and then the bananas give potassium. So I am putting a little bit back in, but little by little. Okay, that has thickened up really nicely. You see that? That's thickened up. That's looking good. So we are going to let it sit for a little bit and cool off. Okay, I have my oven on, so that is ready to go. Okay, next we're going to fill up the cupcakes. So it says it makes 6, so we'll see. Okay, I have my little liners, and let's see if it makes 6 of them. Don't want to overfill them. I do want to be able to get 6 out of them. Not much in there. Let's see if I can scrape out some more. Try to get all of it out as possible. I don't know how much they're going to puff up, so I can't imagine that they would puff up too much. Let's try and borrow some out of that one. Probably overfilled that one, but that's okay. They'll be fine. We'll see how much they puff up. May have some smaller ones. She could have used maybe smaller, might have made mini cupcakes. I don't know. But this is a really wet batter, so it's something I'm not used to. But here we are. So I'm going to go ahead and throw them in the oven. And they are to go in there for 20 to 25 minutes. So I will be back when these are halfway done, and we'll go ahead and make the frosting. Okay, it looks like the cupcakes might be done. We are going to get these out first, and then we are going to work on the frosting because the cupcakes have to cool before we fill them and frost them. And I also have my dinner going, which is just simply smoked sausage, cheddar smoked sausage, a jar of sauerkraut from Aldi, and I use a little bit of this sugar-free Italian dressing in there. And that will be dinner. So there's an extra recipe for you. Very fast and simple. All right. Okay, they did puff up a little bit. Those look good, actually. So there we go. There is our cupcakes. So we can turn this hot oven off. And we are going to let them cool. So I will stick these over here so they can cool. Okay, now we're going to make the frosting. It is a cream cheese frosting. So I have my bowl. I have my mixer. I have butter, which I forgot. I need to soften that up a little bit more. So let me soften that. Okay, well, it's softened. I melted it. So I guess it'll be okay. We're going with it. And this is a 1/4 cup of butter. So we're going to throw that in there. And then you have to make sure that your cream cheese is softened. And this is 4 ounces. This has been sitting out for a while, so this should definitely be softened. And we are going to blend these two together. That looks beautiful. And then you're going to add 1 tablespoon of your allulose or your sweetener of choice. Blend that up. And then again, it calls for vanilla extract, but I'm just sticking with this. I'm just going to use a capful. Never know unless you try, right? And then it doesn't call for blueberries, but I am actually going to add like maybe a handful of blueberries. Just need to rinse them off. Just enough to give it a little extra blueberry flavor. And then we're going to mix all that together. And that's that. What you're going to do is you're going to wait until your cupcakes cool, which mine are by the air conditioner, so that it shouldn't take long to cool at all. That looks like it might be a good frosting. There's the frosting. and take a little bite. That's good. That's good. So I will be back and we will decorate the cupcakes. We'll fill them first and then we'll decorate them when the cupcakes are cooled. All right, we are at my favorite part of this whole process, and that is decorating. So I have everything is cooled off. I went ahead and ate dinner to make sure that everything is cooled off. I have my nightly coffee. And we are going to do what we need to do with these. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to fill these. Now, what she said to do was to cut off the tops and just add the filling in there. I am not going to do that. I have them in here because this is where they're going to be stored. What I'm going to do is I'm going to poke a hole in the middle of them and then fill it that way. Because they're not very big, as you can see. They didn't rise like a regular cupcake. So this is professional. We're just going to use our finger and we're going to make a hole. That's what we're going to do. Because you'll see what I use to, and my fingers are clean. I just washed dishes. So you'll see how I'm going to fill it here in a minute. So I'm just making a hole with my finger. Use a knife, use whatever you want. I've dirtied up enough dishes tonight. See, I just made a small hole with my finger. So, next thing we're going to do is I purchased these decorating bags from Dollar Tree. Now, I will say they're very thin. So, I wouldn't trust them to put a whole lot of pressure onto, but they are good enough to do a home job. If you don't have one of these, you could put a hole in the end of a Ziploc bag and do it that way. I keep these on hand. I have tips on hand. This is actually a cake decorating tip. And I don't know. Yeah, it should have the size on it if I can see it. This is a 4P. So that's what I'm going to use to fill up these cupcakes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sauce that we made earlier. It thickened up really nicely here. You see that? How thick that is? That xanthan gum really thickened it up. So what I do, and I've always done it this way, I've seen people put them over cups and fill them up that way. To me, this is just the easiest way. This is how I was taught when I first began decorating, is just take your bag and put it over your hand. And then what you'll do is you'll take your filling and you'll just kind of grab it with your thumb. Just kind of work your hands up, right? See what I mean? So we'll just put that much in there. I don't think these cupcakes are going to use, well, we probably could put a little bit more. I don't think the cupcakes are it's going to come out the end real easy. So let's use that. We're already losing it out the tip. So what you'll do, you'll take it and you'll just squeeze this into the cupcake, like so. Don't worry that it's popping out. Don't worry about that. I'll take care of that. And then you put your tip down in there and squeeze it like that, okay? Put your tip down there. That's why we needed that hole. There we go. It's just oozing out of that one. I can fix that. And these are not very deep, so I'm going to have plenty of this jam left. Like that. Okay? All right. So whatever's left, just put back in your container. And then these tips are washable. You can wash the tip, but throw away the bag. All right. So this one I'm just going to take and get that extra off there and put it right back in there. Okay. So I have plenty left over for something else. My husband can use it on ice cream. When I make my keto waffles or pancakes, I can use it in that. And I'm just going to store it in this dill relish container because this is about the smallest jar I have, and it'll work just fine. We're just going to put the rest of that in there. I like to reuse the glass jars whenever I can. All right, so I have all that goodness. I got like half jar, more than a half jar of goodness in there that I can use on something else. All right, so we got all those filled. Now I have this cupcake tip that I'm going to use in this another bag, and we're going to use this for the icing, for the frosting. So I'm just going to do it the same way. I put it over my hand. You can put it over a cup if you want to. For me, I just feel like it's an extra step that you don't need to do. But it's whatever. It's however you feel comfortable. I'm just comfortable doing this, and when I see somebody use a cup, it just kind of irks me because I'm so used to doing it this way. And everybody that I trained to be a cake decorator, I taught them all this method, where they used to use the cup, and they're like, oh, well, this is so much easier. It's less messy. It's less of a step. You're just pushing your frosting down in there, right? And you're just working your way up, your hand up. And then you close it. Simple, like that, okay? So then what you do is, if you're working with regular icing, you might want to twist it at the top. I've seen people use like twist ties and stuff. That's not even necessary. Why go through all the extra steps? Just twist it at the top with your thumb. Hold it with your hand, your dominant hand, whatever hand you use, and push it a little bit so it starts coming through the tip like that. And then take your cupcake and you will just lightly put it on there. Okay? Like that. You can use, if you don't have a tip, use a knife. Use whatever you got. But if you've ever wanted to learn how to cake decorate, I'm just giving you a free lesson right here. Just make sure you like this video if you learned something today, or if you'd enjoy this kind of thing. And here's the last one. There's that. I still have a little bit left in the bag, so you know what that means? I can add more frosting because we don't want to waste this. So I'll just be a little have a little fun with it here. That. It's kind of like a little flower. Got a little bit left in here, so let's see. Okay, so there's the cupcakes. Okay, now just to add a little fun, I'm going to add even more blueberries because blueberries are great for you. They're an antioxidant, and this blueberry farm that I go to get my blueberries, we have 4 or 5 of them around us, and I always get them from the same one. They have 13 different varieties of blueberries, and their blueberries just came into bloom just a couple weeks ago, and they're almost done already. That's how many people order from them. So there's the cupcakes. Okay, now the fun part is we're going to try one. So let's go ahead and try, we'll try this one. Okay, I don't even know if this is the right lid. Yep. Okay. So let's see what it looks like on the inside. So there's the cupcake. All right. Now let's peel it. And hopefully it peels back okay. Seems to be doing all right. I will leave the link to this recipe and to the frosting recipe down below if you guys are interested. I did lose a lot of it in there, but I will eat that. Trust me, it won't go to waste. So let me get a knife and we're going to cut into it. All right, there it is on the inside. That looks so good. So now I'm going to try it. I'm going to point the camera at me so you can get my reaction. Because I have always been told that I wear my emotions on my face. So if I don't like it, you're going to know. All right, here we are. We're going to try it. It's going to be a little messy. But here we go. That is good. That is really good. It's not too sweet. It has just enough sweetness in it. It's more spongy than a muffin, which is what I was going for. And I don't even think you would be able to tell that I didn't use vanilla extract, but it just gives it a good flavor. So that makes me excited to kind of want to try those syrups and other baked goods. But yes, this is very, very good. Another thing I liked about this recipe is that it used coconut flour and not almond flour. Sometimes almond flour can be really overwhelming, but the coconut flour just adds to the flavor of this. And the blueberries, amazing, amazing. The icing, so good. It will definitely need to be refrigerated because it's warm in here, but then it won't be so messy. But this is really, really good, guys. And if you want to try it, I will put the link down below in the description box to both recipes for the blueberry jam and for the cupcakes. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure you give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'm going to finish the rest of this and enjoy some coffee. Talk to you later.